Our 2025 mid-season F1 driver ratings.
Actually, it's 14 rounds in, so that is technically not mid-season. This video is sponsored by the wonderful people at Squarespace.
So what we have done is we have totted up the averages of the season up until this point, including, of course, driver such as Jack Doohan, who of course is no longer a full-time Formula One driver, but we've totted them all up. We've got mine, we've got your ratings, Tommy, and we have the fans as well, you at home who have been taking part so wonderfully in voting each week. How we have graded this, Tommy, so how are we going through it? Talk me through, like, how have we ordered it? Because mine and your grades can potentially slightly differ.
Yeah, they will differ because obviously me and you have been doing our lovely drive ratings all season, as have the fans, like you say. And basically there's been a complete average over these first 14 races. So every driver will get a score, 5.2 or 3.9, or and then we've ordered them from 21st to 1st. And in theory, that should be the definitive order with no recency bias and 100% correct. And
that's the beauty of it. Yeah, it is 100% correct. And also, yeah, the recency bias, that's the interesting thing. This is the topic of conversation that, of course, always comes out when we do overall averages, because some people may think, wow, how is that person down in 16th? They finished third in Silverstone. I don't know. There's things like that.
Exactly.
That I think will make for
it's very
debate.
Easy to forget that some people had a difficult start to the season, or some people had a great start to the season.
So let's get into it and start with 21st position. My 21st position is Jack Doohan with 3.7 out of 10. Am I surprised? Not really. I mean, to be fair, sometimes drivers who don't complete an entire season just chill in fourth place, and they've had a couple of great little showings, little substitutions. This did not happen for Jack Doohan, and it's probably one of the main reasons why he lost his seat, sadly. Too many mistakes. We were trying so desperately to find the potential, which was somewhere, but it just didn't show, and then Alpine decided to get rid of him.
Indeed. So my 21st position is also Jack Doohan. And also 3.7. I promise it is different later on. Yeah, Jack Doohan, obviously a very small pool of results, but still not very good results from our drive ratings. Obviously had a difficult start to the season, many believe, and I don't think it's unfair to say that he was kind of doomed from the start, because it was very difficult. There was always that pressure of whatever he does, he was going to get replaced. But unfortunately for him, had some very bad moments with crashes. Most of his grades that I gave him throughout the year were 3s, his best being a 6 in Bahrain. Sadly for him, I'd be surprised if we saw him again in Formula One. It's just the nature of the sport, isn't it?
Now the first disagreement comes in because the fans' 21st position is Franco Colapinto with a 3.6 grade. Now, I am slightly surprised to see that. I won't lie to you. I don't think Franco has had the best of seasons in the Alpine, jumping in, of course, midway in Imola. But has he
it's
been,
close.
Has it been worse?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I think I imagine there's probably a lot of frustration in Colapinto's results from the fact that Colapinto almost needed to go in and be really, really good to basically justify that switch. And I guess maybe that frustration has come across in fan votes, maybe. Are you looking to launch a passion project, showcase your business, or finally create the website you've been dreaming of? With Squarespace, you get an all-in-one platform that makes it easy to get online, no matter your experience level. I've been using Squarespace and it's an absolute game changer. Their cutting-edge design tools are fantastic. Whether you're customizing templates or using their AI-powered blueprint tool to get your site up in just a few clicks, the possibilities are endless. Plus, with Squarespace's built-in payment options, managing everything from online stores to services is completely seamless, all while accepting payments on your terms. It's so easy to integrate appointment scheduling and email marketing, helping you stay connected with your audience effortlessly. Simply lovely. Ready to create your own website? Head to squarespace.com/P1 to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/P1.
In 20th position, Tommy.
My driver is Franco Colapinto with a 4.4. Yeah, no surprise really. It is close between Colapinto and Doohan, it's how you judge it. I personally, and as my in terms of
grades do not suggest that, Tommy. 3.7 versus 4.4.
Yeah, I think
huge.
Colapinto has been better than people give him credit for. Don't get me wrong; he's still been disappointing, and I back up my theory that he's been unfairly memed this season of being like this absolutely awful driver. When on his day he's out-qualified Gasly, which is something that Doohan didn't really do. And he's had his few crashes when he starts. I think he did it once, didn't he?
Yeah. I could hear the hesitation in your voice ever so slightly. I think it was Japan.
I think it was Japan where there was one race where Gasly had a problem and Doohan out-qualified him. But
out-qualification still happened, mate.
Exactly. Yeah, Colapinto, still a very difficult situation. Maybe Colapinto got more of a benefit of the doubt when we got halfway through the season and our brains resets going, yes, the Alpine is the worst car on the grid now. Because that's another thing. We started the season thinking that Alpine were going to be pretty good. And of course, they are last.
So my 20th position is Colapinto with a 4.4. Yes, I can see the fact that we've got exactly the same averages for the first two. But I promise you, carnage is going to slightly unfold, I think, between me and Tommy. But at least between us and the fans. I mean, you say about like we had to readjust our brains for Colapinto's grades and the Alpine and things like that. The grades have been worse as he's kind of gone along, both for me and for you. The last four have been a 4, a 1, a 3, and a 5 out of 10 from me. And yeah, it's just we've not really seen an entire weekend packaged up from Franco Colapinto. That's what we need to see. Like, we talk about potential, but there is less, I think, from both us and also the fans. There's less sort of forgiveness here of Colapinto maybe struggling. As much as he is very new to Formula One and only had a handful of races for Williams, there's kind of, I guess, this sort of expectation that, as you said, he's replacing Doohan, so therefore he has to be a lot better, otherwise I'm going to grade him pretty poorly. So I think he has been a bit of a victim of that, but still, he definitely deserves to be one of the worst graded drivers of the year so far, because we've not really seen the full potential of Franco at the moment. The fans, 20th position was Jack Doohan with a 4.2. A whopping 0.5 more than both me and Tommy gave him, which is actually a huge amount of grade. So we were much harsher to Doohan, clearly, than the fans were. In 19th position, Yuki Tsunoda with a 5.1 out of 10 average. Now, we're getting into, and we will further on as well, where I will say that Yuki Tsunoda is 19th, and there'll be drivers that are within 0.1 of a grade of drivers that are further up. And I think that'll happen even more when we get into the midfield sort of rankings, where it will be so close between drivers. So just listen to the average grades before we say that, I'm a Yuki Tsunoda hater or something like that. However, has he really deserved any higher than that for the grade? We know the problems that he's had jumping into that Red Bull, but at the same time, there was expectation of, well, Lawson's done pretty bad. Surely Yuki can do better. Much more experienced driver. And sadly, in that second Red Bull seat, it has been impossible for him to really shine. But we know he can. So this grade is pretty irrelevant. I really hope that Yuki finds the right spot for him, because I don't know if that second Red Bull seat is where he needs to be, because I'm looking at his grades that I've given him. It's quite a sad reading, to be honest with you. Before the switch, he started with a 9 out of 10 in Australia, an 8 out of 10 in China. He had a 7 out of 10 from me in Bahrain. And then from then on, he's not achieved more than a 6 out of 10 from me. He's had a couple of 2s, 2 3s as well. So it's the fact that he's at 5.1 and he had a great start to the season just reflects the struggles that he's had.
Yeah, absolutely. My P19 is also Yuki Tsunoda, slightly worse with a 4.9. Yeah, much of the same reading in terms of Tsunoda's performance. Looking at how he did in that Racing Bulls and seeing the 9s and 8s that he scored in those first couple of races. But then he actually moved over to Red Bull, and you saw a bit of potential there, because of course Lawson qualified 20th in both those first races, and Japan, didn't have the best of qualifying, but it obviously wasn't last. Bahrain, he was fighting a bit further at the front than we'd seen that kind of second Red Bull in quite a while. But the problem is he went on that massive run where confidence dipped. He was actually having quite a few collisions and things as well. And that's when he was getting, threes, ones and twos, because not only was he qualifying and racing poorly, we couldn't even give him the benefit of the doubt of, it's only the second Red Bull seat curse, because he was colliding and getting penalties and things like that.
The fans in 19th position have gone for Lance Stroll. Very popular to give him a 0 from the fans. They absolutely love giving Lance Stroll a 0. He's had 2 of them this year from you lot. I've not given him a singular 0, and neither have you, Tommy. In fact, you have not even given him a 1 out of 10 for any performance across the entire year. So yeah, Stroll in 19th. I think that's a little bit harsh with a 4.5 out of 10. In 18th position, Tommy.
My driver is Lance Stroll with a 5.1. Yeah, Lance, all the way down, is very strange, and I guess it shows you that points don't really tell the whole season, where Lance Stroll obviously equal on points with Fernando Alonso, I believe, in the championship now. Obviously behind on countback, and up until the last few races ahead of Fernando Alonso. The season for Lance Stroll has very much been, I think 3 races he's done something unbelievable and got big points, particularly when Aston were really struggling at the start in those crazy races like Australia, for example, where he got that fantastic result. But the frustrating thing is there's still too much from Lance Stroll of these weekends where he's just nowhere and he qualifies really poorly, and he doesn't have that same excuse as a Colapinto or a Doohan where they're new. Lance Stroll has been in Formula One for absolutely ages now, and you need to see some improvement from him. So yeah, it's been a strange season for Stroll. Good points, but not enough good performances, and that's why he's down in 18th.
Absolute madness, isn't it? Lance Stroll down in 18th, been carrying Aston Martin on his back for most of the season, and doesn't get the grades. In 18th position for me, Liam Lawson with a 5.2 out of 10. Crazy. I'm actually quite surprised to see Lawson down in 18th. Obviously, I think this will be one where people will go, what do you mean? He's been really great these last few races, and that has reflected in my grades as well. So Lawson, to be fair, Silverstone wasn't a great one. I gave him a 4 out of 10, but I've given him a 10 in Austria and 2 8s in Spa and Hungary. But the problem is he had a 2, 1, 4, 3, 7, 3 in the first 6 races. Obviously, the 7's a bit of an outlier there, but he's had a lot of very low grades, which has brought his average down quite tremendously. I think this is a grade that, if he continues on his run of form that he is, will thrust himself up the leaderboard when we reflect on this come the end of the season, because he is on a great run of form at the moment. But sadly, having 3 or 4 great races or decent races doesn't change your average. That's the whole thing of the maths that's going on right now. So yeah, slightly surprised to see him down in 18th, but then when you look at it across the whole season, you kind of understand why. The fans have given 18th position to Yuki Tsunoda with a 5.1 out of 10, which I know is different, but I want to say right now, exactly the same grade as mine, but just how the rankings are working. So me and you, the fans, we're so in sync about Yuki Tsunoda, aren't we, this year? We now go to 17th position, where I've given Lance Stroll that wonderful place with a 5.3 average.
That's not agreeing with the fans.
It's not agreeing with the fans, but the fans have been just giving Stroll horrendous grades for quite a long time. I don't think it fully reflects his season. He has had great moments, and that's the reason why he'd been the top Aston Martin scorer for quite some time. Again, with Aston Martin, did we expect them to struggle as much as we did at the start of the year? No.
Well, I did. But apparently too much.
Well, you predicted something and it's wrong, mate. So, but I think Lance has had good performances, but he just has moments where he has weekends off, 2 weekends off, 3 weekends off, and just trundles around at the back, qualifying on the back row of the grid. So that's why he's down in 17th with a 5.3.
So my 17th place is Liam Lawson with a 5.4. It's that start to the season that really killed him, because I think he's been a much better driver these last few races and found the confidence again. 3 of the last 4 races he's got higher than an 8 and a 10. 8s and 2 8s and a 10. So he's done a great job, and he's kind of finding his feet more in that team. Of course, he had those 2 horrible races with Red Bull Racing that, has to be said, couldn't really have gone any worse. To get replaced after 2 races is a shocker. But then even when he moved to VCarb, he didn't hit the ground running. It wasn't like an instant, oh, I'm demoted, look how great I'm doing, which we've seen from other drivers where they just found their confidence immediately. But now he has, but of course too much at the start of the season where it wasn't going well for him.
Indeed, the fans have gone for Lawson as well with a 5.1 out of 10. He has more 10s than Tsunoda, hence why he has been placed ahead of Yuki for the fan vote. So I will not hear any recency bias in the comments because you've literally given Lawson a lower average grade than both myself and Tommy. But probably very similar reasons. In 16th, Tommy.
16th is Carlos Sainz with a 6.0. I think this one, maybe not surprising. I think it certainly would be surprising if you'd said this at the start of the year.
Yeah, we were glazing, bro.
We really were. Carlos Sainz thought he was going to be absolutely fantastic at Williams. He has undoubtedly been quite unlucky in certain situations, but he has struggled a lot to get up to speed with the new car. And actually, looking at this, it's funny how all the a lot of the drivers at the bottom are ones other than Lance Stroll. Are ones that had to kind of deal with new machinery in, Carlos Sainz, Tsunoda, Lawson, Colapinto doing. But yeah, I really thought Carlos Sainz would kind of take all the frustrations of getting dropped by Ferrari, show what he could really do in the Williams. And there have been moments like that where he has put in some great performances in qualifying, but too many times it seems like he's gone out in like a Q1 or something and just not got it together. And of course, when it's so hard to overtake, qualifying is so important.
And I'm in agreement, Tommy, because my 16th position is also Carlos Sainz with a 6.0, exactly the same. This one, I feel like Carlos has probably been one of the unluckier drivers of the season. I feel like a lot has gone wrong for him, which has, of course, affected his grade when he can't perform to what we would expect. And I guess he came into the season with a lot of expectation from both us and fans. Yeah, it has been an underwhelming season, whether it is because he has struggled occasionally with the car, also had bad luck. It is a 6.0. It's not like we've given him a 2, and there's a lot of very close drivers I'm seeing in this list ahead of him. But yeah, I would love to see the next 10 races for Carlos is where he gets some reasonable luck. Doesn't even need to have good luck, just have a car that just works for him, makes sense, and perhaps he just needed a little bit more time from Ferrari. But yeah, it's not been a disaster of a season, but it's definitely not been what any of us expected when we came into this one. And the fans, hey, we're all in alignment, have also gone for Carlos Sainz with a 5.9 out of 10. So let's see what he can do in the second half, or less than half, of the season to go. In 15th position, I have Pierre Gasly with a 6.1. So let's look at Gasly's grades, shall we? He's got 2 10s from me, I can see right there, in Bahrain and also in Silverstone. Gasly, look, I think if we had gone back to the start of the season, realised just how bad that Alpine is, perhaps he'd be slightly higher up than where he's placed at the moment. But it's so difficult to do driver ratings because you just don't know how the car's performances change week in, week out, season to season. It's a very difficult ball game, and that's what even Alex Albon said when we were chatting to him. It's a very personal experience each race. But I think Gasly has had a good season in even though he's 15th. I think he has had a good season because he's had moments where we've gone, wow, he's really outperforming that car. Have we seen as many as we expect from Gasly? Maybe not, but I think he's been a bit of a victim of the car just being pretty woeful for most of the season.
I've also gone for Pierre Gasly in 15th with 6.1 as well. Like Carlos Sainz, this is pretty terrible reading actually for me, because I'm pretty sure I put Gasly and Sainz being the kind of 2 best of the rest in our predictions for the season. A lot of people were hyping these 2 up after testing, thinking that the Alpine would be quite good to start the season, but they have fallen downwards and downwards and downwards, and now, looking like the worst car on the grid. Gasly has had those good performances, hasn't he, where he's reminded us all why he is, Silverstone is a great example, gave him a 10 out of 10. They got a 9 in Bahrain. And he's had these performances where it's just kind of reminded everyone, oh, he is a great driver, but there's not enough of it, and maybe that is just the fact that the Alpine is so terrible this year that some of the races, and this is the nature as well of that close midfield battle, that for all we know, he's had the race of his life and he's finished 15th, and we just go, oh, 15th, that's not that great, is it? but it's how you grade it. So disappointed to be all the way down in 15th, but it is so close between all these drivers coming up now, isn't it?
It really is. The fans, well, they agree. It's amazing to see the amount of agreement for the big votes that we do every single weekend, because Gasly has a 5.9 out of 10 average and is placed ahead of Sainz because he has more 9s than Carlos. Let's move to 14th position. Tommy?
14th is a painful one for me. It's Kimi Antonelli with a 6.1, so same as Gasly. However, he's had more 10s than Pierre Gasly. One of them, of course, being his very first race in Australia. Difficult qualifying, and then brilliantly kind of came through the field to finish 4th in wet conditions, and we thought, wow, okay, Kimi Antonelli has arrived. This guy is going to be amazing. You know, he didn't have the kind of impressive performances as Russell, and of course Russell's a veteran now and a multiple race winner, so maybe it was no surprise. And he started the season with a 10, a 7, an 8, a 7, 8, 9, and you're thinking, okay, this guy's going to be, you know, one of the drivers, and people speaking of him as, you know, the rookie of the year. Oh, he's doing really well. And then since Imola, he's really spiraled with some bad moments. Of course, he's had his car failures and things, but also crashes. And this is another driver that's really had a tale of two halves, because other than Canada, where he got a 10 and had that brilliant podium, it's been a 5-2, 6-2, 5-2, 5. He's a driver that's very much going to be looking forward to the summer break and just needs to recharge and kind of find that form that he had at the start of the season.
I have also got Kimi Antonelli with a 6.1 out of 10. Me and Tommy really in agreement in this part of the driver ratings. For me, Kimi Antonelli is joint on 10s, 9s and 8s with Pierre Gasly, but he has more 7s than Pierre. So that is why Antonelli is in 14th for me. I genuinely think Antonelli would be probably even in my top 10 had he not had this run of stinking results the last few. He's had a couple of 2s from me, a couple of very mid-5s. The wrong way round, really, for Kimi Antonelli in terms of what I think everybody expected from him, of mistakes, maybe a little bit slow, keeping it, whatever it might be. We thought that was going to be the start of the year, and he would get better and better and better. This is the wrong way round for him, and also for, you know, the personnel in F1, people keeping an eye on his performances, because it doesn't make sense. But it just clearly is a case of losing confidence, which is bizarre because Canada was unbelievable. You know, the fact is, you know, that is just such an outlier in the last few races where you go, well, that was Antonelli. You know, he was on the pace of Russell, doing a phenomenal job. It's tough reading being 14th because he is a rookie and I think he has had great moments, but he's had too many poor ones, and just the lack of speed in the last few have been rather concerning, I think.
Well, I've got something quite funny that I can do actually with this wonderful document that we have. If you take Imola and get rid of all those results from where he was and see what his average was, it would be 7.8 and he'd be 5th on our rankings.
Get rid of the first 6. Tell me what the average is now.
The average, if you get rid of those first 6, would be 4.8. So he would be...
And that's with a 10 as well.
With a 9... Yeah. Oh, so he'd be 19th.
Yeah.
So that is the most season of two halves you could ever possibly have, really, isn't it?
Right. In 14th position for the fans is Esteban Ocon with a 6.1 out of 10. Do I feel like that's a little bit harsh? Well, I clearly do, because
I do.
I've not said Ocon yet, and neither of you, Tommy. I think this where, again, there's confusion with Haas, because I feel like Haas have been the most confusing team on the grid.
Yeah.
Of, are they 5th fastest or are they 9th fastest? Maybe the case is they have been both, and that's why we've not known where to place them. In 13th, I have gone for, or not I've gone for, the numbers have gone for Bortoleto with a 6.2 out of 10. So Gabby Bortoleto, actually, you know what? Season of two halves, I think, with this guy.
Yeah,
as well,
should we do it for him as well?
I'm seeing very much a slow start to the season, and then Sauber actually getting a good car, and then Bortoleto being able to showcase what he's been able to do. Because in the first 5 races for me, Bortoleto did not get a higher than a 5 out of 10 with 2 4s. And then since then, he's only had 1 grade below a 5.
Yeah,
so Tommy,
boost it. If I get rid of those first 5 until, I guess...
Which is, I think, actually, I know we're doing like ifs, buts, maybes. If we get rid of these races, blah, blah, blah. I firstly find this quite fun.
Just for the purpose. So when did Sauber get their upgrades? I think it was Spain, wasn't it?
I think it was. Yeah.
So if we get rid of up until Spain and his last run of results, it'd be a 7.7. So he's another one that's really had that run of good races.
But I also think that this is a very fair thing to talk about for Bortoleto in particular. And, obviously we speak about Antonelli. They're rookies, and Bortoleto had very little running coming into this season. So he genuinely was learning everything. In the start of the season, with a car that was worse as well. We saw it with Hulkenberg. Neither of them could really. I know Hulk had obviously a great performance straight up the blocks, but apart from that, he was struggling to get results out of it as well. So I think Bortoleto, that is the curve that you want to see. So well done to Bortoleto, even if it's only 13th. But I think that if he continues the way he is, he could be getting well into the top 10 for me.
13th, I have Ollie Behrman with a 6.4. So another rookie. I think Ollie Behrman's, every single time on drive ratings we say it, that it's a what might have been, and I think his whole season is a what might have been. Had a great run of China, Japan and Bahrain. He got 3 9s in a row. Yeah, it was impressive that he had these amazing runs at the start of the season. But then, a lot of 6s and 7s, and he's just waiting for that big result where you feel like, he's not got a 10 this year yet from us, and he's had those moments where you feel like if it all came together, he would have that kind of 10 out of 10 performance. But it's still a very decent average. And like you said earlier, Haas, very difficult to read because sometimes they do seem genuinely worst. And we were seeing I think it was the first race, wasn't it? Ocon and Behrman were just getting lapped and were last by an absolute mile. And we thought, wait, what's happened to Haas? And then other races, you just think if they qualify well and they I think it was Spa at the sprint race, they were 5th and 7th.
The fans in 13th position have gone for Kimi Antonelli with a 6.1. Even though Antonelli 1 grade higher than both me and Tommy in terms of position, exactly the same average score, and is ahead of Ocon because he has more 10s than him. 12th position, Tommy.
12th position for me is Bortoleto, 6.4. So same as Behrman, but has more 10s than Ollie Behrman, which I would believe is only 1. No, it's 2. Austria and Hungary. So another driver, kind of season of 2 halves, but this is more what you expect from a rookie, where the first half he's learning the car, and I said many times that I don't think his start of the season was as bad as he was kind of been made out to be, but now he is looking like one of the drivers in form, and I can't wait to see what he can do second half of the season, because he's looking like such a promising rookie. He's out-qualified Hulkenberg now so far this season, which is no mean feat at all. Hulkenberg, a fantastic qualifier, and of course a veteran in Formula 1. Looking forward to seeing what he can do, and I would not be surprised if we saw him maybe even break into the top 10 when we do our final ratings, if he carries on this form. My
12th position is Oliver Behrman with a 6.3 out of 10. So I'm ahead of Tommy in terms of 12th rather than 13th for Behrman, but I've actually graded 0.1 lower because that's just the way these numbers are working. But Ollie Behrman, kind of disappointed that my grade for him doesn't put him in 11th after everything that we've been speaking about with him. But close, but not close enough. Behrman, I think close but close and not close enough has been kind of his season this year. It's been, as you kind of mentioned, very strong start to the year, 3 9s in a row for me as well. Then just so many race reviews, so many driver ratings where we've gone, Silverstone in particular, that bloke could have got a 14 out of 10 if everything had gone the way that it should have gone in Silverstone.
But so quick.
Yeah, look, it's a rookie season, right? I think Behrman is showing that he's a pretty decent match for Ocon, but Ocon is a highly rated driver, I think, in the paddock, and the fact that Behrman's near him in his rookie season, I think, is something that maybe people don't quite realise. Ocon is a very good driver, and he's no slouch. So it's a good start to Behrman's career for sure. The fans in 12th position, Gabi Bortoleto, 6.1 out of 10, and is ahead of both Ocon and Antonelli because he has more 10s. All three, 12th, 13th and 14th, a 6.1 from the fans.
This is the thing, isn't it? Yeah, as we get in, we said this, didn't we? As we get into the midfield, you've got the kind of drivers that have done really poorly that you kind of know are going to be at the bottom. And as you get into the midfield, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people going, oh, how could you put this person 15th or whatever? And then you look and it's literally 0.3 of a grade would kind of put them all the way up in 11th or something. So that is just how close this midfield battle is.
In 11th position, I have gone for Ocon with a 6.4 average grade. Very similar to Behrman. Ocon, I'm looking at some highlights now. China, of course, where he just spawned in an amazing points position. Monaco as well. Yeah, it's been a good season for Ocon. You know, when you look at teams that you kind of position in similar, I guess, performance, let's say Sauber and Hulkenberg, has Ocon had those moments? Not quite. He's been close in some moments, top fives, but yeah, it's been a good season for Ocon. Nothing to write home about. He's not made it into the top 10 just yet for me, but I don't think it's anything to be disappointed with for Ocon. It's very close, as we've said, with some averages of other drivers around him. If Haas have a more stable, good car, fully expect him to make it into the top 10 for me.
P11 for me is Lewis Hamilton. 6.5. Yeah, the first kind of big hitter, I guess,
That's big.
That's big, yeah. Like I say,
barricade your door, Tommy.
Indeed. I mean, this is the big drivers always kind of have bigger opinions. Some people will probably think 11's too high and Hamilton's had this absolutely terrible season. Some people think he'll have done a lot better. And he is a hard driver to read because up until recently, his form, I think, has dropped off even more. I think before Spa, people were talking about Hamilton as having this absolutely awful season. And he wasn't that far behind Leclerc, but the problem is these last couple of races, you know, in Spa he had the double kind of Q1 exits, didn't he? And then again, Hungary had the poor qualifying where Leclerc was on pole, and he himself is saying they need to change the driver, I'm useless. And you look at it now and think 11th, he's 42 points behind Charles Leclerc. Leclerc's got 5 podiums, Hamilton's got none. Obviously, Hamilton had that sprint win. Leclerc's beaten him in nearly all of the races. It's just not gone well for Lewis Hamilton this season, has to be said. It's not maybe been as bad as people saying that, he should retire, he's absolutely washed, he's terrible. But you can't kind of sugarcoat it that it's been a good season for Hamilton, because it just hasn't, and we know he can do better.
So Leclerc has beaten Hamilton in 11 races, Hamilton 2. Leclerc has beaten him 10-4 in qualifying, 7-6 in terms of fastest laps between the two of them. Laps in the top 10, 784 for Leclerc, 739 for Hamilton. And best result, obviously, Hamilton's had 3 fourth places in comparison to Leclerc, who's had a best result of 2nd.
It's not been a great season for Hamilton, for sure.
Absolutely not. And the fans, Behrman, 11th position. We did it with someone. We did it with someone. Well done to each and every one of you watching and listening. You have done it. You've put Oliver Behrman in 11th position with a 6.2 out of 10. 10th position, Tommy. Hit us.
I have gone for Esteban Ocon. He's got a 6.6 average grade for the year. And of course, yeah, this is probably one of those that maybe is the most disagreed, because the fans put him in 14th. And he's in my top 10. I think Ocon, unfortunately for him, he's had kind of moments where qualifying just hasn't gone right for him. And when he's not delivering the performances, he's kind of been really poor. He's got kind of 3s and 4s from me. But he's also had really sensational points finishes. China, Monaco, he got a 10. Even Spa, where he got an 8 from me, he obviously got that P5 in the sprint race. And he's put that Haas into places where it shouldn't be. To finish 5th in a Haas this year, when that midfield is so incredibly tight and the top runners very, 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 very rarely break down, is sensational. And the guy sat in... And
in a dry race as well.
In a dry race, yeah, absolutely. I think if you hadn't looked at the championship table all year and you told someone Ocon's 10th, you'd be like, what? Ocon's ahead of, Alonso and Hadjar and Gasly and stuff. I think it would probably surprise a few people, but he is there, and yeah, he's delivered some great performances this year.
P10 is Isaac Hadjar with a 6.5. So Hadjar, wow. Did I expect him to be in my top 10 after Australia? Absolutely not. I thought this could be potentially a difficult season for him. But my God, the way that he bounced back from that, is absolutely sensational. Yeah, just immediately, right? He had a 7 out of 10 from me in China. He had a 10 out of 10 in Japan. I also gave him a 10 in Monaco as well, a 9 in Spain. Again, recency bias might come in, and you look at the last few races and go, it's not been exactly great, has it, from Hadjar in the last few? Perhaps losing a little bit of that momentum that we saw in that sort of Imola, Monaco, Spain stretch. But still, I think Hadjar firmly deserves to be in the top 10, considering he is a rookie and he's knocking on the door of, can I be rookie of the season? You've got others quite close behind, but again, I love the fact that we take into account the entire season. I know some people are going, well, what about Bortoletto? He's but right now, clearly, with the average grade, Hadjar still edges out. But then again, you think about the grades and the fact that car performance comes into it as well. And Bortoletto didn't really have the car the entire year, whereas that V-Carb, we're very convinced, is actually quite a good car, aren't we, Tommy? So, but still, Hadjar, very good season so far, and I hope he continues that way. The fans also gave it to Hadjar. P10, 6.4 out of 10. In 9th position, my average grade, 6.6 out of 10, goes to Lewis Hamilton. So I've been slightly kinder on Hamilton by a whopping 0.1 compared to Tommy. Tommy gave him a 6.5, but wow, was in 11th.
And 2 positions, yeah, that's crazy.
That just shows you how close it is. I was about to say in this midfield, Ferrari, no, they are not a midfield car. I will not say that live on this podcast. Hamilton's season, I was kind of concerned at the start of the year, especially after the China sprint. I was like, is Charles Leclerc going to get beaten more times than I expected this season? But it's not been the case. It really hasn't. Ferrari, of course, haven't had a consistently front-running car. The fact that I have not given one singular 10 out of 10 to Lewis Hamilton, I think, tells you all you need to know about the season he's had with Ferrari. I firmly expected to be giving him multiple 10 out of 10s because that is Lewis Hamilton. I said with my chest coming into this season that Ferrari are undoubtedly going to win the Constructors' Championship. McLaren have wrapped it up with 10 races to go pretty much. It's been tough. It's been horrible, obviously, to see him in those post-race, post-quali interviews of him beating himself up, but it hasn't been the season that we expect from Hamilton. It hasn't been good enough, and that's why he's down in 9th.
So P9 for me is Isaac Hadjar with 6.8. Had so much hype around him at the start of the season, and rightly so. Hit the ground running as a rookie, minus that first race. That is a moment that could have easily just killed his whole career in one race. And the fact that he bounced back from it and was delivering, a 10 out of 10 performance within the next 2 races. Having said that, kind of the last few races, as Lawson's kind of got up to speed, we've maybe not seen as brilliant performances from him in a car, and maybe it is just the car's not, as the others are kind of closing that gap, because I do think V-Carb started the year with a fantastic car. I remember Hadjar and Yuki putting it, I think it was China, unbelievable results in qualifying, and we were having this conversation of saying they should be getting more points with this car, and they weren't. Still, quite rightly, I think, at this stage of the season, whether it would be the case by the end of the season, is the rookie of the season so far, based on those entire 14 races and the average, because he just had that fantastic start to the season and did a really good job.
The fans gave 9th position to Fernando Alonso with a 6.6 out of 10. P8, Tommy.
P8 for me is Fernando Alonso with a 7.1. And what interesting reading that Fernando Alonso is, 9th from the fans, 8th from me, and you look at where his teammate is, 19th from the fans, 18th from me. And they are on identical points. And it just shows you the season they've had. Alonso, of course, spent that first half of the year, I think, very unlucky, and the results weren't telling you what he was actually doing, because he was ahead of Stroll in some of those kind of chaotic races, and either had collisions and things like that, got taken out by Lawson in Miami, from what I remember. The kind of last few races, of course, when the Aston has been there, delivered a fantastic performance, and Hungary was absolutely one of those 10 out of 10 performance. The car was working, and Alonso, even at 44 years of age, has just delivered everything that it could have got out of it and more.
In P8 for me, Fernando Alonso with a 7.1 out of 10, exactly the same. Am I surprised to see this? Yes, a little bit. Again, I think it's because you look at the picture of the table. 26 points for both Alonso and Stroll. And Stroll is 19th from the fans, as you mentioned, 18th for you and 17th for me. But then the Drivers' Championship table only tells you a very, very basic picture of what's gone on. And Alonso could easily have double that points, if not more, to be honest with you. The fact that Alonso is still performing at this level, it's obviously a bit frustrating to not see him further towards the front, because we all want to see it. But still, he is performing, and I don't think there's any concerns just yet that he's losing it, although that was a topic of conversation in the first few races, I recall.
It was, yeah. Stroll had like 20 points on the board from his wet weather masterclasses, and Alonso had nothing, did he?
No, yeah, he had nothing. So a better run of form for the last few. The fans, in P8, Hulkenberg with a 6.8 out of 10. 7th position, I have got Nico Hulkenberg with a 7.3 out of 10, a whopping half a point clear of what the fans have given Nico Hulkenberg, and I think that mine is better than yours, because I don't know how you can give him anything less than at least a 7 out of 10 across the whole season. He has been phenomenal. If anything, I'd maybe put him even one higher. Of course, he's had a standout performance in Australia at the beginning of the season, in Spain, and then of course got an 11 out of 10 in Silverstone for scoring that phenomenal podium. Yes, he has had a couple of bad races in the last two because I flopped him, and it's hard to go against the flop curse these days because it's well and truly back. So to be fair, without those 2 5s, he probably would have been 6th for me.
So in P7, it's for me as well, Hulkenberg. 7.2. His performance, of course, the 11 out of 10 in Silverstone, finally got that podium, which was the most unfair statistic in the history of Formula One, probably, that Nico Hulkenberg didn't have a podium. He has had moments to maybe give a few negatives why he's maybe a little bit further down than some people who maybe were thinking, let's put him really high up. Bortoletto in recent races has kind of smashed him in qualifying, has to be said, in the last couple of races, and Hulkenberg hasn't been able to deliver in the races. But the run he had between Spain and Silverstone, he got a 10 in Spain, a 10 in Canada, a 9 in Austria, and an 11 out of 10 in Silverstone, because of course him finally getting that podium. Hulkenberg is 9th in the championship. Crazy to think. I mean, I'm looking at this thing where it says podiums as well, and he's got a podium, and Lewis Hamilton doesn't. Like, imagine saying that 14 races in is absolutely insane.
Madness. Speaking of Hamilton, in 7th place for the fans, Lewis Hamilton with a 6.9 average grade out of 10. 0.3 clear of me and 0.4 clear of Tommy's. P6, Tommy.
P6 is Alex Albon. 7.4. Big surprise, has to be said. Thought that Carlos Sainz, there was all this talk, wasn't there, about Alex Albon has been brilliant in Williams in recent years, but his teammates have arguably been some of the worst drivers that we've seen in the last few years in Formula One, in Logan Sargent and Nicholas Latifi. And Albon, you thought, how is he going to actually stack up against a great teammate like Carlos Sainz? And he has been absolutely fantastic. He's 10 points off Antonelli in 7th in the championship. In a Williams, he's had some incredible moments. He's been very consistently good. It's not like he's just had like certain drivers, not to take anything away from them, but like a Hulkenberg or whatever, where he's had these huge highs and bagged loads of points. I think Albon has been consistently a great season from him. And proving a lot of people wrong. So yeah,
including us,
including us, yeah, and up in 6th. I think this has to be one of the biggest surprises for me, I think, this season.
My 6th place is also Alex Albon with a 7.6 out of 10 average grade. When you look at the point scores this year, he's had 9 point scoring moments. He had 3 retirements in a row in Spain, Canada, and Austria, and yet still sits very comfortably 8th in the championship. Yeah, we came into the season thinking Carlos would beat Alex Albon just purely because of Carlos's record, and Albon has responded incredibly well. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see him 6th after seeing the season that he's put down. 54 points in the championship. His teammate Carlos, of course, we have mentioned his bad luck at times. He's down in 16th with 16 points. But he could easily have a lot more. But Albon, we're not saying what ifs as much with him, and he's put down a phenomenal season. And let's see if he stays in 6th place come the end of the year. The fans also agree. They've gone for Alex Albon with a 7.4 out of 10. We now head to the top 5. My 5th position is George Russell with a 7.8. George Russell currently 4th in the championship, 172 points to his name. And there's a lot of 9s, a lot of 10s that I've given George Russell this year. Australia, China, Bahrain. Then, he went 5 races without me giving him a 9. And then we get to Canada with, of course, that 10 for that amazing victory. Again, this is kind of like a topic of conversation, similar to Haas, of having to shift our perceptions of where team performances are. Mercedes are exactly the same. They have had moments where they are a minute off the lead, absolutely nowhere, and then they're winning in places like Canada. It's, again, quite difficult to shift the mindset of exactly when Russell is putting down 9s and 10s, because sometimes he will finish 5th, finish 4th, so far off the lead, but that is all he could do. But still a great season for Russell, and just loves spawning in great positions.
5th for me is Charles Leclerc with a 7.6 out of 10. As Matt's shaking his head. Yeah, Leclerc's been an interesting one. I mean, I'll say it now. He's very close to the kind of next couple of drivers, and he's been a hard one to place because, of course, he has dominated his teammate, which, of course, is no mean feat because it's Lewis Hamilton that he's against. There have been times where I know that the Ferrari isn't as quick as it has kind of been in the past, and that will be, of course, really frustrating for a driver. But there were moments of the season where I kind of thought Charles needs to kind of prove more of why he is like this really highly rated driver. And that is exactly what he's done in the last couple of races and a few more throughout the season as well. I think that is the tale of Leclerc's season, where there have been those races where you feel like Leclerc's got absolutely everything out of it. And I know we get a lot of stick, and I think it's completely unfair that when we give Leclerc a really high grade for when he's got pole position and finished 4th or 5th. But it's because he's not in a car that can win the race, and he shouldn't be penalised because he's stuck it on pole position with a brilliant qualifying lap.
The fans in 5th place, Max Verstappen with a 7.5 average grade.
If I speak.
Tommy is about to pop off. In 4th, let's go.
P4 for me is Lando Norris with a 7.8. Lando Norris has been one of the most difficult drivers to grade this season, and he's also been a difficult one to place. We'll start with the positives first. You're not 9 points off the championship lead by having an awful season. I have seen a few other kind of ratings and things of people rating Lando Norris' season and putting him way down the bottom and saying he's been absolutely useless, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. If Piastri had like 3 mechanical failures and Norris was this close to him, you'd kind of understand. But you're not 9 points off the championship lead by being terrible. And don't get me wrong, Norris has had some really poor moments, and he's made a hard work of it a lot of the time in some of the races. Canada obviously being the lowest point, where he got a 1 out of 10, brings his average grade right down. Other races where, it's not gone his way, Bahrain, Saudi, crashed in qualifying. And there's been those discussions, hasn't there, where, has he got what it takes? Last year, he was up against Verstappen, arguably should have won the championship. And now he's gone into this season and Piastri's looked really good, and you think, is he throwing it away again? But he's still winning races. He's won 5 races to Piastri's 6, and he's very close to the championship lead, and he's very much still in it, and it feels too close to call. So I don't think he's had as bad of a season as some people think. For me, obviously, this is what I think because that's where he is on average. But I think 4 is about right.
My 4th position, Charles Leclerc, 7.9. I will just mention right now that 3rd and 2nd have exactly the same grade as Charles Leclerc. So it tells you everything you need to know about how close it is with some of these top drivers. Charles Leclerc has had, I think, a great season still. He does. He just consistently puts down great performances. I gave him a 10 in Saudi, a 10 in Monaco, and he's had loads of 9. It's just he's not able to win races because it's impossible. The McLaren is the fastest car, debatably by how much, but I think still consistently the baseline benchmark car to beat. So Leclerc's 5 podiums is a great achievement when you look at the struggles of a 7-time world champion on the other side of the garage. I think it again proves that Leclerc is a phenomenal driver that will win a world championship when he has a season that the car can fight for wins consistently. Yes, we've had 2022. Yes, there were some mistakes in there, but he also showed that he can win lights to flag quite easily as well. The fans, they agree with me. Charles Leclerc, 7.8 out of 10. We now get to the podium of the mid-season driver ratings, which I know all the Formula 1 drivers are very excited about. In third position, Lando Norris with a 7.9 out of 10 and has more 10s than Charles Leclerc, hence why he has been put above him. Complete agreement with you, Tommy. Yes, there have been moments where we have criticised Lando Norris's performances, and rightly so. He is a driver that makes mistakes, and therefore we are going to downgrade him from a 10 if it's deemed acceptable, because he's not performed fully throughout a whole weekend. And I think as well, coming into this season, Lando, in comparison to Oscar, Lando had a lot more expectation on his shoulders. If the McLaren is the fastest car, Lando Norris should win the World Championship. And he has not had a horrendous season. He is still in the hunt for the World Championship and has a very good chance of winning it. He's won 3 of the last 4. And I'm, again, in complete agreement with you, Tommy, that anybody that says that he's had a shocking season just has no idea about Formula 1. So yeah, I'm actually not surprised to see him in third, and let's see if he stays there. If he goes any lower than third, he's probably not won the World Championship when we reflect it at the end of the year.
P3 for me is George Russell with an 8.0. I think George Russell has had a consistently great season. Particularly at the start of the season, his kind of lowest result was a 5 at Silverstone, where you kind of thought, maybe someone like he took that ridiculous gamble at the start when he was running 4th to try the kind of hero strategy. Didn't work out for him, of course, and then it all kind of fell apart from there. Even with the Mercedes kind of flip-floppy season, he's kind of been consistently good. Of course, the highest moment, because we mentioned about how difficult it is to beat a McLaren this year because they're so good, is the race victory that he got in Canada. It's amazing to think that up until recently he was a driver that looked like he might be out of a race seat. When he's been having one of his best, if not his best seasons so far.
Fully agree. The fans in third place have also gone for George Russell with a 7.8 out of 10, has more 10s than Charles Leclerc. Second position, Tommy.
Second position is Max Verstappen with 8.1, disagreeing from the fans there, who's put him in 5th, of course. I actually think if I was to grade these myself, I would find it very difficult to pick between Max Verstappen and George Russell. This is just my personal opinion. I think Max has had higher highs. George Russell has maybe been consistently good. I think the start of the season, Max was absolutely phenomenal in particular and showed why he is considered by most people to be the best driver in the sport. He should never have finished even second in the Australian Grand Prix, which he did, and a win against that McLaren should have been like nearly impossible in normal conditions, but he did in Japan and again in Imola, which I still think that turn 1 move is one of the most epic things we've seen in recent years. But then you look at the low points and it really kind of unraveled after Spain, when he had that collision with George Russell where he saw red, hit the side of George Russell, had that massive blow-up and disagreement with his team of them saying he should let him through, and then he decided not to. And from there, you kind of thought maybe there's a very, very, very small percentage if the McLaren start to collide and crash into each other that he could still take the title. From there on, it just kind of completely fell apart. And now, particularly the last race in Hungary, we saw that even Max couldn't do anything to kind of tame that Red Bull that seems to be slipping further and further down the pecking order.
In second place, I have also got Max Verstappen with a 7.9 out of 10, so slightly less delusional than Tommy. He has more 9s than Norris, hence why he's been placed in second rather than third. Of course, that 0 that I gave him in Spain, he would be slightly clearer of the 2 that I have behind of Norris and of Leclerc, and also Russell, of course, 0.1 further back than that. Just again showcasing just how close
second
this
to
has been.
fifth of yours, 0.1 apart.
0.1 difference. So Verstappen, I think you put it perfectly in the fact that he's had loads of massive highs. He scored 3 10s from me. I hope he can take it to the McLarens for the rest of the season. We love to see Max mixing it with them, not finishing 9th. So yeah, let's see where that Red Bull goes. But I don't hold too much hope for the performance of that car, because I think Red Bull have gone, yeah, that car's in the mud now. We're going to go to 26 and beyond, which I wouldn't blame them for, because they are nowhere near anything really now. So second for me for Max Verstappen. The fans, Lando Norris with an 8.3 out of 10. So quite a lot higher than what myself, 7.9, Tommy 7.8 for Norris. So interesting there. And in first position, clearly an agreement from all three of us, Oscar Piastri is my first position with an 8.9. So Oscar came into this season, his third Formula One season, may I remind everybody, with less expectation. We go back to my Lando Norris point. I think Lando came into the season, if McLaren had the best car, should win the championship. Oscar, of course, showed moments of brilliance in 2024, but didn't have that consistency, the understanding of the tyres. Yeah, not falling away in races was something that Oscar did struggle with a little bit. He's turned that around insanely well this year. He's delivered ice-cold performances. Again, I think that's why he's got an 8.9. We don't see those crashes in qualifying or just random mistakes that we go, he's left a little bit on the table, and it just showed. I mean, he's a whole 1 point clear of anybody else in my rankings with that 8.9. He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10 out of 10s from me this year, and fully deserving of them. And this is where, again, we try with our driver ratings, we try and analyse the performances, but we also take into account where drivers are in their career. Some people do, some people don't. I do, because I don't think a performance from Bortoletto should be the same as Hamilton when you factor in their experience. And Piastri is still, on paper, more towards the inexperienced side, with him being only 3 seasons in Formula One. That's why he's got such a high grade from me. That's why he's leading the World Championship. Congratulations, Oscar Piastri.
P1, of course, Piastri for me as well, 8.6. We mentioned about how close, maybe you could argue, second to fifth is with these drivers. This one is no kind of contest for me at all, that it's Oscar Piastri, the driver of the season so far. The fact that
I'm looking at your grades right now, Tommy. You've not given him at any point lower than an 8.
Yeah, exactly. He's been so consistently brilliant, which is something we couldn't say last year. All the talk going into this season was, can Norris win the championship? Because are Red Bull going to keep falling off? And there were some people out there, of course, that thought Piastri might be able to do it. But last year, Piastri had incredible highs where he showed brilliance, and we all thought, wow, like, this guy is a real special talent, but didn't have the consistency. So for his first time challenging for a world title to be this consistent is nothing short of sensational. He has been so good this year. The only blips in his whole campaign, really, have been Australia, which in the wet, very unlucky to slide off the road, of course, and Silverstone, when he hit the brakes too hard behind a safety car and still finished the race in second, in a race that he was going to comfortably win. He has looked so good this year. Every race, I don't think there's been enough praise of just how good Piastri has been in only his third season, because you look at a rookie now, like Kimi Antonelli, and you said, in 2 seasons it's just going to be like completely like not dominating, but being great. You'd be like, wow, that's impressive. And yeah, I think Piastri's been so good that you almost forget he was a rookie 2 years ago.
Exactly. The fans, they agree. They've given Piastri a 9.0 out of 10 across the whole season. The fans are loving Oscar Piastri and his performances. How many 10s have the fans given it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well. Well, there you go. That is our mid-season, kind of mid-season-ish, F1 driver ratings, done and dusted. I love looking back at them. I can't wait to look back on it again at the end of the season when we've had 10 more races to fill out this table. Thank you for everybody who gets involved and votes as well, because it helps us create these averages and things like that. It helps create healthy discussion. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Hope you're enjoying the summer break. Hope you've had lovely holidays or whatever you're doing, or working or not working. I don't know, whatever. Just all those things above. We will see you soon for some more content. We've got some good stuff.
Oh, we got some good stuff. Don't you
worry.
worry.
So look forward to that one. See you soon. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.